Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've taken a whole stack of foundational sources.
Everything from early 20th century mindset gurus to, modern financial thinkers.
And our mission for this deep dive is, well, it's pretty ambitious. We want to distill the essential operating manual for human achievement.
Right. We're not just scratching the surface here.
No, we want to extract the universal rules that successful people actually live by. We want to know not just what they do, but how they actually think.
And what's so fascinating is how consistent these ideas are. I mean, across decades, across different fields. We're pulling from people like Earl Nightingale, Orson Swett Martin, Kiyosaki, Maxwell. And when you put it all together, success really seems to be about the internal machinery, not so much the external circumstances.
And that idea gets put right on the table from the very beginning, thanks to a quote from Walter Dale Scott. He was a psychologist at Northwestern.
Oh, yeah. That one's a game changer.
It really is. He said that success or failure in anything is caused more by mental attitude than by mental capacities.
Just think about that for a second. It's revolutionary.
It is.
It immediately shifts your focus away from things you can't change, like your IQ or where you went to school, and puts it squarely on your mindset.
The things you have total control over. The things you can practice every single day.
Exactly.
So let's unpack that cornerstone then. Attitude. One of the biggest concepts we found was this idea that our personal environment is, well, it's basically a mirror.
It's the ultimate feedback loop.
Yeah.
If you dislike your environment, maybe your career or your relationships, the instruction from all these sources is pretty uncompromising.
You have to change your attitude first.
You have to. The world doesn't play favorites. The change in your attitude doesn't really change the world. It changes you and how you see the opportunities in it.
So what's the first, tiny thing a listener can do tomorrow morning to start polishing that mirror?
It starts with just awareness. The sources really stress the staggering cost of passive negativity. You can literally count in the millions the jobs people hate, the promotions they miss, the marriages that are just tolerated.
And why?
Because people are waiting. They're waiting for their boss or their spouse or the world to change toward them. And they're giving up years of potential just by waiting for an external fix to an internal problem.
It's a huge waste. And that waste, it often comes from a lack of confidence. But we should be clear about what confidence actually is.
Right. It's not just positive thinking.
No, that can feel like just wishful hoping. The sources call it positive knowing.
That's the key distinction. True self-confidence is earned. It comes from proven ability, from setting and hitting bigger and bigger goals.
So you aren't just telling yourself you're unstoppable.
You have a track record of small wins that proves it to yourself.
So that brings up a great question. If I don't feel confident yet, how do I bridge that gap? Is it just faking it till you make it?
The sources tackle that head on. They say act the part. It's the most effective way to build a good attitude habit.
So it's not faking, it's, what, a feedback loop?
Exactly. It's a mind-body feedback loop. Start right now to walk, act, and look as if you already have a good, positive, expectant attitude.
And the science backs this up. Actions trigger feelings just as much as feelings trigger actions. If you straighten your posture, you speak more deliberately, you behave like a confident person, that feeling starts to follow because you're signaling it to your own brain.
And if you want a really practical way to do this, there's Earl Nightingale's 30-day test. It's brilliant.
What's the test?
For the next 30 days, treat everyone you meet, your barista, your colleague, your family, as if they're the single most important person on earth.
And this isn't just about being polite.
No, it's a radical shift in your focus. It works because it satisfies the deepest human craving, which is to feel important. It works for them, but it also works for you, the giver.
So if you can keep that up for 30 days.
It becomes a habit that attracts positive experiences. You'll find yourself doing it for the rest of your life. It completely changes the reflection in that mirror.
Okay, so if attitude is the foundation, where does the rubber hit the road?
Action. It has to be action, and specifically focused action.
Right, moving from belief to results.
Absolutely. That requires focused thinking. It's about eliminating all the distractions, all the mental clutter, and just harnessing your energy toward one goal.
And the results are so concrete. The examples we found showed that this kind of focus can help you refine a manufacturing process, solve a hard math problem.
Or even just improve your curveball.
Right. And the payoff is this massive efficiency.
It's the total opposite of multitasking. Some research suggests that switching between tasks can cost you up to 40% of your efficiency.
Wow, 40%?
Yeah, so if you want to get a lot done, you actually have to focus on one thing at a time. The whole purpose of a goal isn't just the destination, it's to give your attention an object, a direction, for right now.
And once you have that focus, you need the time to apply it, which brings us to the surprising value of what the sources call spare moments.
Yeah, and there's this almost moral argument here. They say the person who stays ignorant in a land of opportunity ought to be ashamed.
That's a powerful statement.
It is. They're talking about using the odds and ends of time for what they call self-culture.
Which is what exactly?
The deliberate, systematic cultivation of your own mind and character.
And this isn't just theory. There's that incredible anecdote of the young man who never went to high school.
Right.
But he educated himself so well, just in his spare moments, lunch breaks, his commute, that he was eventually offered a professorship at a university.
It just proves the constraint isn't usually a lack of time, it's a lack of concentration. He just forced his mind onto certain studies, even if it was just for a few minutes. Every moment became an opportunity.
So when those moments lead to an opportunity, the sources say action requires initiative over perfection. This is a huge roadblock for a lot of people.
A massive one. You can't wait for everything to be perfect. They say it's better to be 80% sure and just make it happen than to wait for 100% certainty.
Because by then, the opportunity is gone.
The window has slammed shut. Initiative and responsibility, they're completely linked. As Socrates said, to move the world, we must first move ourselves.
So if you feel paralyzed, the first move is internal.
Accept responsibility, then act.
Okay, before we move on, let's give that final, immediate physical technique we found. It connects attitude from section 1 with action here in section 2.
Ah, the walk 25% faster technique.
Right.
And this is more than just picking up your pace. Remember, body action is the result of mind action, but it's a two-way street.
So walking faster with better posture.
It helps your self-confidence grow. You're sending a message to the world that you have somewhere important to be, but more importantly, you're sending a signal to yourself that your thoughts and actions matter.
Let's apply that purposeful mindset to finances now. The sources are very clear here.
Very.
The road to wealth is just about increasing your monthly cash flow from assets until it's more than your monthly expenses.
And once you hit that point, you've officially escaped what Kiyosaki calls the rat race.
But you can't get there just by working harder for a paycheck.
No, you have to understand the system you're in. Taxes are highest on earned income, your salary. The rich focus on converting that earned income into passive or portfolio income.
Things like real estate rentals or dividend-paying stocks.
Exactly, because those are the least taxed forms of income.
So it's a strategic shift, but it's also a cognitive one. Kiyosaki's famous idea where you replace, I can't afford that, with,
The question, how can I afford it?
it's such a simple reframe.
But it's so powerful. I can't afford that is a mental shutdown. It's a final answer. But how can I afford it forces your mind to start looking for solutions, for answers. It puts you back into that productive thinking mode.
That kind of mental resilience is crucial when you face what the sources call the greatest single obstacle to success.
The fear of failure.
But winners, they see failure totally differently.
They see it as information or even inspiration. Look at the Texans. They don't bury their failures.
Right, remember the Alamo.
It was a military defeat that became this massive source of motivation. It's why John D. Rockefeller said, I always tried to turn every disaster into an opportunity.
This shows the fundamental split between a winning and a losing mentality.
For sure, losing inspires winners to pause, adjust, get better. But losing just defeats losers. It makes them retreat.
And that ties right back to the financial talk. People play life too safe. They play not to lose.
Which leads directly to these balanced, non-focused investment portfolios. But if you have little money and you want to be wealthy, the sources say you have to be focused, not balanced.
Think about Thomas Edison or Bill Gates. They were hyper-focused, all their energy on one disruptive idea.
They weren't looking for balance in those early stages. They were looking for a breakthrough.
And sometimes that breakthrough is forced on you. We also found this compelling argument for the necessity of crisis.
The sleeping giant.
Explain that.
Our latent power is often like a sleeping giant that needs the shock of a huge crisis or a massive responsibility to wake it up.
History is full of examples. Grant or Lincoln. Their abilities might have stayed hidden if the Civil War hadn't forced them to find every last bit of their reserve power.
Right. So responsibility doesn't just use ability.
It actually develops ability.
So now, moving to the external factors, how we interact with the world. The sources are crystal clear on this.
Character is capital.
Essential capital, worth enormous sums. They say integrity protects everything you hold dear.
You see that in the longevity of certain brands, a name like Tiffany.
It just means reliability, quality. Their character is their foundation. A reputation for integrity is capital you can bank on for decades.
And the reverse is also true. Compromising that integrity has a huge, immediate, practical price.
Not just a moral one. If you cheat on a sale, even a little, that guilt feeling grabs hold of you.
It makes you self-conscious, ineffective.
And the next time you see that client, you're guarded. That internal destruction of your own confidence costs you repeat business, and it costs you success in the long run.
But the formula isn't purely self-centered. Unselfish thinking brings fulfillment. Givers tend to get happiness.
And talent is maximized when you work with others, especially people who are emotionally secure and value collaboration.
But on the flip side of that,
You catch the spirit of your environment. You have to be so careful.
the sources explicitly warn against the negators.
Yes. The people who've surrendered to mediocrity and rationalize their failure by saying, oh, success is just luck, or they must have cheated.
Why are they so dangerous?
Because spending time with them just directs your own thinking down to that mediocre level. It makes excuses look attractive.
Which is why they have that simple rule.
Go first class.
And not just with what you buy.
No, with how you treat people. Think first class about everyone around you, and you'll naturally attract first-class results in return.
This brings us to a really critical counterpoint at the psychological pitfall that sort of underlies a lot of this negative thinking. It's the idea of the omnipotent self.
Or what we could call the trap of effortless expectation.
Where does that come from?
It's an old psychoanalytic idea. It suggests that an infant state before birth feels like omnipotence. Everything works for its comfort with zero effort.
And the adult problem happens when the person's acquaintance with reality gets postponed for too long.
Right. They stay stuck in this fantasy world where they unconsciously believe the outer world should just bend to their will.
And when it doesn't, that's when you see impatience, irritability.
And a reliance on what's called fantasy thought.
We need to define that distinction clearly. Fantasy thought versus
Directive thinking. Fantasy thought is basically wasted mental energy. It's wish fulfillment. Spending an hour planning an impossible vacation or doom scrolling and imagining elaborate negative futures.
It's temporary pleasure, but with no real-world result.
Exactly. But the successful person relies on directive thinking. That's thought focused intensely on reality, on breaking down goals, analyzing obstacles, and getting tangible results. So what does all this mean for you, the listener?
Well, the synthesis of all these philosophies is pretty clear. Success is not about luck or genius.
It's a matter of deliberate choice and sustained practice.
Reinforced by courage and integrity.
And you have to remember the comforting statistic: talent is not everything. Over half the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, 65% of U.S. senators, and 75% of U.S. presidents were C-average students.
Your mental attitude and your focus are far better predictors than your so-called capacities.
So your mission, then, is to see your own life, your daily interactions, as a laboratory for these principles.
Practice them until they become habits. Move past that effortless expectation of the omnipotent self and into purposeful action.
As we close out this deep dive, let's circle back to that crucial distinction in how we spend our mental energy.
Casual conversations that don't add value, or reading something just to identify with a hero by proxy.
That's all fantasy thought. Wasted energy. Directive thinking is the workhorse. It's focused on reality, on breaking things down, on moving forward.
So our final provocative thought for you is this. If you actually analyzed your mental energy for the last week, what percentage of your time was dedicated to directive thinking?
To problem solving, planning results, and intentional self-culture. And what percentage was spent on fantasy thought and just unproductive mental wandering? Where are you truly focusing your inner power?